Wrestling, little bit punching. Brother.
Wrestling and grappling against the cage is very different from like normal wrestling. When you have something behind you and you can, position yourself on, sometimes it can make it easier for a high-level striker to not get taken down. So to be able to have solid defense against the cage as well as solid offense is very important, because wrestling right here in the middle of the cage versus against the cage, it's very, very different.
I have to make a pretty big rotation, and in the middle of that rotation, I'm also putting downward pressure, right? So rotate, hips down. So if I go here to like,
okay.
Yeah, now it's much more difficult.
Yeah.
Guys, welcome to the YouTube channel. So what you're gonna see today is some wall wrestling. We're gonna start off with a little bit of review from last week, and then we're gonna build into a body lock system, partly showed by me and then the other part showed by George. So it'll be fun. Check us out. All right, so some review from last time, right? Just to kind of set some context for you. As I'm going in for this double leg, right? My double leg's gonna end up on this side, right? That's gonna make everything today work easier, right? So ignore the other side for now. Even if you stand orthodox, bring your head to his right hip, right? So I get here, right? This is the exact reaction I want, right? I've got a whizzer here and a little bit of a turn of the hip. As I'm trying to attack this leg, George is gonna grab my hand, right? That way I can't really control this very much. But then now, if he really commits to grabbing my wrist, right, I'm gonna be able to use this and pull, right? Same thing with this other arm. I'm gonna pull his hips off of the wall, right? So I'm cutting an angle a little bit, I pull him, and then I duck, right? So now I've got a back take. From here, do whatever you want, bring them down to the ground and get to a place of control. So that's one option, right? The other option is as I get here, what's gonna happen now, he might pull up his whizzer, right? And then from here, I might not be able to get this side as easily. So instead of going this side, now I'm gonna use the underhook here, really flare out my elbow and try to fit my head into the armpit, right? So step, turn the hips, put my head in the pocket, right? Duck under. So essentially the movement's gonna be the same on both sides, right? I either open up this way or I open up this way. Either way, you're gonna end up on the back. If they keep really, really tight with this whizzer to the point where I cannot open it up, we'll talk about body locks after that, but understand that if they commit to this whizzer here, right, it's gonna be easier to pull them off the wall. So then you go back to the first option, right? So as I'm here, right, I've got this, right? They've really committed to this whizzer. I can't open up this way. Fine, right, back the other way. All right, on two. 1, 2.
With the only leg or with MMA gloves? Wrestling, little bit punching. Brother.
Nice. If you want to open, it's easier to do it if it's shallow, right? So like if it's here, because now you can open your elbow more and then now.
I mean when I go on this side?
Yes. Right, so like you'll feel it here, right? Like if I'm deep this way, when I open my elbow, there's not really much space. Yeah. But if I'm here and I open up my elbow, right, now I can find that space. So if I want to open it, I want to be up. If I want to control his hips, I can be down here, and that's okay too. Yeah.
What are you guys doing out there? You haven't liked, subscribed, or shared to our YouTube channel? Please do. It helps us out. Do it now. Also, if you put in the discount code YouTube10, you will receive 10% off of merchandise and training. So make sure you like, subscribe, share, YouTube10, get yourself 10% off, and do it now.
Right, so let's say we're here, we've got this position, right? And now, for whatever reason, I can't open this up, right? And then, right, so from here, I'm gonna try to get to my body lock. I'm gonna try to lock my hands, right? Couple ways you can do this, right? There's two main examples. If I can't really get a good grip here, right? Let's say they might be like too tight on the wall or something, I can't quite lock. I'm just gonna use my arm to pull them off the wall a little bit and get my body lock here, right? So that's one option. If you feel like that doesn't work, then you can drop back down to the single leg for a moment, right? pull him off the wall, lock, right? So 2 options there, either an easy pull or grab the leg, pull it, right? And then now you get here. S grip, gable grip, don't really matter too much, right? So here, first option is gonna be if I can get outside position on the leg, right? So if I can make space and step my leg around George's leg, that's gonna be the first technique, right? So as I'm here, there's 2 things you've gotta pay attention to. You've gotta cover a lot of space, and then at the same time, you've gotta put downward pressure, right? So if I'm pressuring George against the fence here, right, as I pull this, I have to make a pretty big rotation, and in the middle of that rotation, I'm also putting downward pressure, right? So rotate, hips down, right? So without George, right, once I hook here, pull, rotate, 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 and then pressure down with your upper body, right? Get heavy, right? They've lost their balance at this point. Now you've got to push them down, right? So I'm here, I find my lock, I step around. As I'm pulling, I'm rotating and getting heavy, right? Make sure you cover with some kind of a staple as well.
Right here, he's got a lot of weight on my right foot, right? My weight has kind of shifted from being in the middle to now more of my weight is on my right foot.
Right, that's a good point. So because the weight's heavy here, I can move this leg pretty easily, right? See how light that leg gets. That's what makes it easy for me to turn that leg around. Once I turn it around, then I put weight back down on it, right? So heavy here, light here, pull, and then heavy again, right? And then now I cover the hips.
And guys, when you lock your hands, try not to have it super high up on the back. You want to be lower on the back where you're going to have more leverage on the back.
Like if you're here, do you prefer to keep your legs straight or you can keep it bent?
Oh, I can keep it a little bit bent. That's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah, I feel like as long as the leg is off the ground, that's kind of what I'm looking for. Because I think longer legs, shorter legs are going to have like a different... Yeah. Pull, lock, yeah, good. Now rotate, rotate, heavy, 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 heavy. Yeah, perfect. So like here, right? For you to get a good like pull, your hips have to go below mine, right?
Yeah.
So if I go here to like...
okay.
Yeah, now it's much more difficult.
Yeah.
It's not impossible, right? You can still move me.
Yeah.
But now it's like I have a little bit more balance, yes.
Okay.
So there's obviously a lot of carryover from traditional wrestling, right? Like you learn how to move somebody else's body in space, but then now there's another obstacle there. And so you get to figure out how to use that obstacle to your advantage or how you have to work around it, because obviously there's one direction that they cannot move and there's one direction that you cannot off-balance them in, right? So that's kind of the interesting thing about wall wrestling. You gotta pick up that nuance, but the more wrestling experience you have, the easier that transition becomes.
All right, guys, same position from the body lock, right? Nice and tight. Again, don't have your lock too high on the back. Stay low, clamp your elbows together. Maybe I'm trying to get to this leg, I can't. So I'm gonna go back in between. Once I get my hip, I'm gonna use some hip pressure to go hip to hip. Once I get to hip, I'm gonna lower my level and kind of slide my butt underneath Shay's leg, right? And once I get it here, I'm gonna try to pin my hip to the fence, okay? All of his weight is now transitioned to the other leg. Once I'm here, you have a few different options. I can lower and pick this leg up, okay? So all I'm doing is I get my hip into the wall, I lower, pick the leg up, boom. Get Shay down, I'm probably gonna pass and go into like a half guard, right? If I can keep him in half guard, keep him against the fence, it's a very good position for me to be able to punch an elbow. Get to the hip, I lower, get my hip underneath. Now I'm just gonna walk Shay all the way down, right? I can pull this arm out, I can step my leg through and get to my half guard. So again, once I get this underneath, boom, lower, I'm just walking him, right? All the way down. Pull the arm, step through half guard, whatever you want. But when you take the guy down, get to your next position of where you would punch, where you would elbow. Okay, don't just throw him down and walk away. At the same thing, I get this in, I can use my foot to hook this and kick out. One more time. I get in here nice and tight, right? There's no space between our hips. I'm hip to hip, lower, get that in, start to walk him a little bit. And ideally, this is where, personally, I would want to end up, where I can punch. right? He can't go that way, he can only come into me. Any questions with that? Same thing, body lock, get hip to hip real tight. Once I get hip to hip, lower my level, getting that hip underneath his leg, in between the legs, and then you have 3 different options. We all good with that? On 2, 1, 2. Lift that up more. Good. Casper, when you get that hip underneath, try to get it closer to the fence. Hey, Geese, try to get your hip a little bit more into the fence. When you do this, try to push it in more. Yeah, I just realized I said Wagwan to you yesterday in sparring, but you don't have all the equipment on. You were sparring yesterday, right? No. Oh, okay. Then, all right. Then there's someone else from London that looks like you. All right, guys, last one. Same thing, I've got the body lock, right? I'm staying tight. Maybe I've gone for the first one, it doesn't work. I try to get my hip in, and I can't. Maybe the guy's really strong, I can't get my hip underneath. So I'm gonna jam my hip in, nice and tight, and I'm gonna think about taking my lock as I rotate my hips down and around. I get nice and tight, right? I'm pushing my hip into the fence, and then I'm pulling my elbow down and around. Okay? But when I rotate, I'm not doing this. When I rotate, I'm doing this. So that motion, okay? Nice and tight, got my hip in. When I'm ready, I relieve the pressure by pulling and turning. Right, and again, if I can end up in half guard, personally, that's where I would want to be, not side control. Okay, but if you're good at side control, by all means, that could be a good position for you. I'm in tight, I'm pushing him into the fence, and then as I pull, I'm using my foot to kind of reap his leg off the fence. So I push into him. As I pull him, I'm using my foot to pull out. One more time, nice and tight. I'm jamming him in. As I pull, that's the motion. One more time, I push in, putting some weight on that leg. Once I finish in a strong position. I would say wrestling and grappling against the cage is very different from like normal wrestling. So you have to learn how to, because it's easier to, when you have something behind you and you can, position yourself on, sometimes it can make it easier for a high-level striker to not get taken down. So to be able to have solid defense against the cage as well as solid offense is very important, because wrestling right here in the middle of the cage versus against the cage, it's very, very different. So you have to be adequate in offense and defense at both the cage and in the open space. I think it depends on, what type of background you have, what type of fighter you are. Someone like Adesanya he's got pretty good defense in the open, but he's got way better defense against the cage. Again, I think because of how different it is grappling there and being able to use the cage in your advantage versus you get to a double leg out in the center and then you gotta be able to work your way back up. Yeah. Okay, yeah. There you go. When I yell change, this guy goes out, I go to the wall, the new guy comes in. Takedowns, submissions. If you submit, start over. If you take the guy down and he's just laying there, punch him a little bit, not hard, but make sure you are punching, okay? You don't have to punch hard, but punching so the guy knows he can be hit, right? Don't make it a jiu-jitsu match, because it's not. All right, any questions? If you break contact, start again. Nice. Heavy, 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 heavy.
So typically what we do at the end of some drilling, right? Then we'll put them in a positional round that's relevant to what we were learning the day, right? And The idea behind that is you can only get so proficient in drilling when there's not as much resistance, right? Even if we're giving them the, if they do this, then we do that, right? We've got to kind of stress test it a little bit, right? So that's the idea here. It's just anytime there's a situational round or a live round, right? It's more about, can you still do this technique under stress, under resistance, right? And so that's something that you constantly just have to keep building towards, and situational rounds really give you a sense of direction. Otherwise, people just kind of stick to their A game, and then they don't really build outside of that, right? So a lot of these rounds now, it's gonna be groups of 3, so there's a little bit of rest built in, but yeah, it's gonna all start from the body lock, which is what we covered today.
Guys, hope you liked today's session. On Wednesdays, we do wall wrestling. On Thursdays, we do wrestling, and Monday and Friday, we have fundamentals wrestling, 9 a.m. So if you want to do some wrestling while you're here, you have plenty of classes to choose from on the schedule. Please make sure you like, subscribe, and share our content. And if there's anything you want to ask it in the comments below. See you next time.